In this short video, I'm going to introduce you to using Jupyter for your homework. Right here, we're in a Jupyter notebook called demo.ipynb. This is a simplified version of the lecture and tutorial worksheets you'll be working on in this course. Jupyter notebooks are also called literate code documents, and they're a mix of formatted text and code. We can see some examples of that here. So it says demo of using Jupyter. This is called a markdown cell, and it's a formatted text. And then below, we have some computer code written in the R programming language, and we call this a code cell. To run a code cell, we click on the cell we'd like to run. So you can see this blue bar is now highlighting the markdown cell, but I want to run the code cell, so I click on the code cell. And then one way that I can run this is going up to the menu bar of this tab and click the Run button. And we can see that the previously empty open bracket now changes to have a 1. The numbers indicate the orders that the cells were run in. So if I were to go down to the next code cell and hit play again, this open bracket would change from an open bracket to a number 2. Now, we can see that when I ran the second code cell that we got an error. This is because in the code cells following your questions, we put in this fail function to make sure an error is forced unless you answer the question. And this is designed so that it will help you not miss questions in the course. So why don't we go ahead now and answer this question. So the question is asking us to create an object named week and assign it the value 1. So we're going to remove these two lines, and we're going to say week, and we're going to assign it the value 1. Now let's run this code cell again by using the play button. And we can see that the number changed from 2 to 3, and the error has gone away, and instead we see the output from our code cell underneath the code cell. In your homework, we will also provide tests for many of the questions that we give you so that you can check your work. They will look something like this. It'll be a code cell that follows where you put your answer, and it will start with test something. And so this is test_1 to test question run. So we can run this cell, and because we answered the question correctly, we get a nice friendly success message. If we did not answer the question correctly, we would get an error message, and hopefully we've given you a helpful hint to get you on the right track to answering the question correctly. So in your worksheets, we will give you notebooks that have spaces for you to answer the question. But sometimes it's nice to add new cells to a notebook so you can experiment and play around. How do you do that? So we can do that by highlighting roughly where in the notebook we would like to create a new cell. Say, for example, we wanted to create it between these two cells. I would highlight this cell, and I would go up to the plus menu here and click plus. And you can see that I get a new cell. Currently, when you create a new cell, it's a code cell. Okay, so if I go up to the top drop down here, this is where I can see code is selected, and if I wanted to change it to a markdown cell, for example, I could change it here. But let's go ahead and create this new code cell, and we'll do some math. Say we need to do some addition, 23 plus 53. So we can run this and we can get the answer. If we want to then add a markdown cell, say I wanted to add it right after here, again I would highlight this cell, click the plus button, but this time I need to change what kind of cell it is. So I'll go up to the drop down again, and this time I will actually click markdown. And now I have created a markdown cell, and I can create bolded text and a list. Oops, I didn't make the list. 1 item, 2 items, 3 items. And again, to format this, I need to go up and click the play. And what if I wanted to change something? I actually didn't create bolded text, I created italicized text. If I want to fix that, I can just double click on the markdown cell and change my formatting. And then click play again to format it. Now, for this course, you're not required to learn how to format text with Markdown. We're going to give that to you. But if you're interested in learning, because it can be very useful for follow-on courses in data science, we encourage you to double-click some of the questions that we've given you, and you can look at what does the markdown formatting look like underneath in case you would like to learn how to do that yourself. Now we're done experimenting. Say we want to remove these cells. How do we do that? Well, we can highlight the cell, click on the cell we'd like to remove, say we're done doing our math, and then we'll go up to the menu and we'll use the scissors to cut and remove the cell. And we'll cut and remove this cell as well. Oops, we went too far. We cut and removed our test cell. Is there any way to get that back? Well, similar to programs like Word, there is an undo button, but it only occurs, or it only is able to be used within a short time span of making your mistake. So let's take advantage of this fact because we just made the mistake and we noticed it, and we can go to Edit, Undo Cell Operation, and get our cell back. Okay, we've done some work in our homework, and now we want to make sure that we save that work so that we get credit for what we've done. So there are a couple different ways to save your notebooks. One way is to go up to the File menu and click Save Notebook. Another way is to use the Saving Disk icon here. And then there are also keyboard shortcuts like Control-S or Command-S depending on what operating system you're on. All three of these methods will save your notebook, and you can be sure that your notebook is saved by looking at the very bottom here where it says Saving Completed. Now, after you've been working for a while, it's a very good idea every so often to shut down the notebook and run things from top to bottom to make sure that your notebook will be able to be executed from top to bottom when we create it. To be able to do that, you go up to the kernel menu and we shut down the kernel. The kernel is what's running the programming language. We can see over here it says no kernel. And then we go over to kernel and we can do restart kernel and run all the cells from top to bottom. And so we can see that it changed from the numbers to asterisks back to the numbers. And we can see that our kernel is running again here. So that is basically running our notebook in a fresh environment and from top to bottom in the right order. And if our notebooks run from top to bottom in the right order with a fresh environment, you know that you've answered all the questions correctly. So that's our short introduction to using Jupyter for this course.